I want to introduce you to something new that I've come up with. I call it perimeter training. And the theory behind it is somewhat like Pavlov's dog sort of deal. I'm continuously looking for better, faster ways to get people to be able to do this well. I've always thought, you know, if you could override the brain, what a wonderful thing that, you know, one time I didn't think you could. I'm kind of changing my mind on that one. I'm looking for a way that I can train so that I can be as much guaranteed as possible when I go on that golf course that my instincts are going to kick in. At least a couple things about that. First off, I can guarantee you once I show you this to you, this is a lot more fun than just whacking golf balls on a range. It's a lot more fun. Secondly, I think there is 1,000 years of understanding behind what I'm going to do. And again, I will challenge you. I will challenge you to try to explain or prove to me that what I'm going to show you now wouldn't work. Now, it may not work as fast as you wish it would, but what does, right? But over time, I think you'd have a hard time explaining to me why this wouldn't work. If I could ever get to the point, and I think I am, I don't think in any of my teachings do you ever hear me talk about tucking your elbows in and keeping your head down, and I don't think you ever hear me say that. Because well, number one, the golf swing is 100% natural to do it correct until we start getting wrong information and wrong feedback. There are ways. I'm looking for ways that I can come to this practice tee and as much as possible be guaranteed that what I'm going to do is going to work. I, like probably many of you, have hit thousands and thousands of golf balls, and there's no guarantee that any of this is going to work, right? Well, I don't buy that. Maybe I'm not too bright, but I don't buy that that has to be the way it has to be. I think it's the way it is. I don't think it's the way it has to be. Well, now we have a dilemma. I've got some stuff here that I've just put together in my garage, and it's a lot cooler than you think it is. It does a lot of different things for me. It's not very expensive. I think that's the downside. I think we all want to buy into if it's not expensive, it can't work. But don't go by that. Go by the theory and the understanding, if you could. I'm going to do a bunch of stuff from that angle first, then I'm going to change up the angles. What I've got here is I've put myself in a confined area, because really the golf swing happens in a lot smaller area than most people think. And I've got it in such a way that I'm not comfortable. It's not comfortable. It forces me closer to myself than I like. And I think that's part of the deal and why it's going to work. I think too many of us relate comfortable to good. And I kind of don't think so. I think when you're playing your best, I think you're kind of a little uncomfortable, actually, in a goofy kind of way. But I've got the back here. How many people have ever hit a golf ball? I don't, you know, most of us might not even feel it, but you go to hit a golf ball and all of a sudden you're like this. That can't be telling the brain anything good. I mean, to me it looks like you're trying to get the heck out of here because you don't like what's about to happen. I think there's a lot of truth to that. This gives me a really secure feeling. I don't know if that sounds wise or stupid to you. Think about it. Just think about it. You know, I don't stand out here and try to invent stupid things to do. Some of them might sound a little bit, but trust me, I don't. And I'm not going to waste my time doing this if I don't think it's going to work. So I call it perimeter training because I'm going to suggest to you my balance is extraordinarily important. I don't think it's all the swing. I think balance is really important. And I think we can get ourselves into bad balance conditions. Conditions that are wrong, but over time we learn to like them. If it was me, I'd keep changing you up a little bit. I wouldn't let you get too relaxed and lazy. Perimeter. In golf, here's what I really want to know. Here's what's really important to you. First off, it's really important to know how far away from the ball you are and what correct is on a daily basis. Secondly, it's really important that you know where the bottom of your club is, not the center, the bottom. I go into great detail on anything that I put down about impact, about how important the leading edge of the golf club is, really important. Then, knowing where the outside of the golf club is, the toe, that allows you to get your bearings. It's like the reason you can walk upstairs is because you know how far away from your brain your toes are. Think about that. You know how to shave because you know how far away your fingers are from your brain. Really important. Golf's so similar to that, but we all kind of want to buy into its elbows and shoulders and heads and yeah, there's something to do with that, but this is so important. I wish you could understand what I really just did. That was fun to me because I felt it. I felt it. There was no thinking going on there. Worrying about my elbows and taking it to the inside, taking it to the outside. Sometimes I think some of the stuff I come up with like this, I worry that it gets understood. Really neat. I'm sure there's many other things that we do in life that is this, but we don't understand it or we don't get it yet. Really important. Okay, I'm going to go through that a little bit. Let's talk about hip action. When I'm squeezed against the golf ball like this, can you see how I couldn't go? Because if I go like that, I'm going to whack. There's my push. I'm going to whack. If my hips move wrong, I'm going to whack that. If my hips move correctly, I'm not going to whack that. If my arms swing off plane, I would whack that. If I move to the inside, I would whack that. George Knudsen once said, form follows function. I have this suggestion about, I've always wanted to kind of create golf schools where I call them model and mold. I will build you a module that all you got to do is form into. You don't got to think, just form into it. But what I do need to do is I do need to back it up, where I can suggest to you, you give me any question you want about shoulder turn or hip turn, and I can relate it to how, with this understanding, you'd have a hard time doing it wrong for long. You would go right in. I guess the reason I say this is because I would love to give you a 1 hour scenario on why this is good, then maybe you would do it. If I just give it to you and don't explain it all, I think it'll go right over your head and you won't do it, which is kind of a crime because, again, explain to me how this wouldn't work. It sure worked a whole lot better than just standing out here banging golf balls. From here, when I do this, my hip naturally turns back away from the golf ball. From here forwards, my hip, left hip, naturally turns. You can't think that I stand over a golf ball and I'm going to turn my right hip away and turn my left hip away. It has to become a natural reaction. So I'm going to do one more from this, and then we're going to change it up a little bit. Then when I go to hit the golf ball, I don't want to think. I just want to feel what I just did. I don't want any thinking going on. Isn't that what we're all looking for? Okay, I'm going to just get the camera to change up a little bit. Okay, let's start with the back, my heel section. I was talking about earlier how reassuring this is. I don't feel like I'm dancing. Something really right about that. On my takeaway, what should happen on the takeaway is the club, because the left shoulder joint is the center of my golf swing, not my sternum, the left shoulder joint, the golf club should go back up and in instantly and simultaneously. Well, you can see that happening. The closer I stand to the golf ball, which is freaky, which is scary, no question about it, it's scary, But that doesn't make it wrong because it's scary. The more my swing feels to me like it's going up and down. The closer I stand to the golf ball, the more jammed. If there's pressure points on my arms, and there is, and we'll get into a little golf machine kind of sort of stuff, offshoots of it in other videos, but you know you've been told to keep yourself together. The closer I stand to the golf ball, the more jammed in I am, the more my arms do stay on my chest. I do not want to play golf by trying to keep my arms connected to my chest. The further away I get from the golf ball, the easier it is to become disconnected from myself. Bad for trying to punish the golf ball. Bad deal. Also, look what this does to my posture, which again is extremely important, but not necessarily for the reasons you think. Something else we should get into, and we will. You know what I mean? I can't see how I'd ever get into this with that there. Get more into this, which goes along with the pivot. Important stuff to know. I'm always looking for ways, inexpensive ways, to practice better because I believe they're out there. And I certainly do it all the time now. And I can't tell, I really do enjoy this more than just hitting golf balls. So what happens here is, as I go back, that right hip turns behind me. If I go this way at you, from forwards, my left hip goes behind me. And, which is actually a natural reaction. Any kid will do it. So it really is how I naturally turn. I call it perimeter training because I think you have to know where the outsides of everything are. I'm going to get into the toes one of these days too, but I think a lot of it's like dancing. Again, please don't take my word for it. Rip it apart. Take this idea, rip it apart. If you can't rip it apart, then go spend $4 and create your own. For $4, how much wrong can you go? You know what I mean? I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to keep harping on this and keep doing this on my downloads. So keep coming back. We'll keep adding to them.